Yes.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
My happy Hanukkahs. How you doing?
Who?
What?
Hanukkahs.
I know, exactly. No one says that. Well, Erica corrected this week. Erica versus Candace. Whose side do you want? Pick a side. You got to pick a side. Pick a side. Adam.
I'm with Candace.
Team Candace. Joe.
I'm
the fence sitter.
Staying out of it.
He never
Staying out of it.
I'm Team Pager. Team
Pager.
Team Explosive Microphone.
Exactly. Candace isn't. Yeah, she hasn't. She hasn't seen the light on that yet.
She has.
On the exploding mic.
Yeah, well, from the beginning.
I don't recall, but she's certainly trashing the 30-06 ballistics.
Tommy Robinson.
From what was it, a Mauser? She doesn't buy that, but she's not filling it in with a positing.
She did at the beginning.
Okay, she hasn't talked about it since.
Yeah.
So it seems like on one side you've got like Tim Pool.
She doesn't need to, I suppose.
Yeah, why? It's hard to prove anyway, but
no, she doesn't need to, since so many other people have said it. All she has to do is leave it open. Mm-hmm. And then the obvious answer is
he has vertebrae of steel.
Huh?
It's the obvious answer.
Yeah.
So the great battle is lining up. You've got Tim Pool, Matt Walsh, Megyn Kelly, all line up for the state's case. Trust the FBI, they never lie. And Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson. Well, maybe even more. I'm surprised that Russell Brand seems to line up on their side, because he was talking to Jimmy Dore is another one.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Walsh, of course, is a perennial fence sitter. He went on Tucker's show and they tried to, can we all just get along?
Mm-hmm. No, they're killing our people.
Let's not mommy and daddy break up. So it's on the one hand, it's kind of tragic because you feel sorry for them. Oh, the band's breaking up. Team's not going to make it. But the other hand, like 10, 15, 20 years ago, it wasn't just that mommy and daddy were arguing over it. Mommy and daddy had no clue.
Yeah.
None of them were on this at all. There was like us, the far, far distant fourth cousins out here on the fringes going, guys, it's all bullshit. Fake FBI terror plots. Crickets. So the fact that there are any influential voices, even remotely, at the core of the issue is progress.
Mm-hmm.
MAGA Civil War is not going to make it. Oh, fuck that. It's impressive that it's taking place at all, this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a change. So I titled this show based on from Venezuela. I'm not sure that's the biggest news of the week. The raid on a Venezuelan oil tanker to great fanfare. Did you see the videos?
I saw some
the police. It was a police patrol boat. They had patrol boat plus chopper landing, Houthi style. What happened next? They impounded it. Do you know where they took it?
Mm-mm.
Sold the oil.
What?
Took it and sold the oil.
For real? No.
Mm-hmm. What do you think they do with it? Think they put it in storage or something?
Just hold it for now. I mean, if you sold it already, it's like...
Well, you sell it in 2 weeks or something.
So it is pure piracy, because they're out there saying it's not piracy, it's international law. Because they went
piracy when Iran does it.
But sell the oil already, even in days. They did go to the trouble of getting a legal warrant, at least legal in US. And well, US law says, yes, if someone is suspected of terrorism, then they must be, have their ships impounded. I don't know how that would never, surely that wouldn't hold up in international law. But anyway, The mighty do what they can, so it's done. Is that an act of war? Is that grounds for war? Probably, but again, it's the mighty versus the small. There's no sign of any no sign of any military counter response from Venezuela, right?
But but it's not. It's like pretty much par for the course, like type thing. The US has done this a few times with. It's all under the aegis of sanctions
regime.
Yeah, it's not piracy in that sense. It's not.
But in this case, this is sanctions. But this is stretching it all the way back to the 1960s, because the sanctions in question they claim that the sale of this oil would have profited or been given to Cuba. And so it's breaking the sanctions blockade on Cuba. That's not the current justification paradigm is Iran/Russia, in our times. But this is a really old legal grounds for sanctions busting. So we're seizing it. I mean, I don't know how long this scheme between Venezuela and Cuba has been going on, but I imagine it's not.
No, it's Iranian oil.
It's Iranian.
It's on Iranian sanctions.
I read in Axios that the warrant was that the problem was that it was going to Cuba, or the proceeds from the sale. Maybe it was going to Iran, but the proceeds were to go to Cuba.
The tanker was an Iranian oil, part of Iran's shadow oil tanker fleet that was sanctioned since 2022.
Okay.
So it was the tanker itself.
Okay. Iranian owned.
Yeah, it was.
It was flying on a different flag.
It had a different name, whatever, but it was identified as the same ship. So, therefore, it's part of a shadow fleet network linked to Iran's IRGC and Hezbollah, supposedly.
It's Iranian owned. Do you know if it flew under a different flag?
Yeah, it had a different name.
Guyana, wasn't it? I think
it operated under the name Adisa before.
Okay.
Now it's called Skipper.
The oil shipment's destination was Iran, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what the destination was, but it was because it was an Iranian oil tanker.
Okay.
In like 2024, they seized several Iranian oil tankers in a similar fashion.
Yeah.
And generated
in the
like $50 million of proceeds. They sold the oil for $50 million.
Yeah.
And that was 6 tankers?
I don't know how many in 2024, but several in 2024.
Was that a part of the same campaign? You remember when oil tankers were being hit by mystery drones and not sunk, but crippling them?
It was before. I wasn't last year, though, was it?
Maybe it was before.
No, this is just seizing oil tankers, officially seizing, not bombing them or anything like that. This is one a bombing situation. This isn't blowing anything up. This is a warranted seizure based on sanctions.
Yeah, but first time it's happened locally, I guess.
Yeah, well, obviously it's being done
locally,
in that context of rabble rousing against Venezuela.
Okay, and so the counter response isn't Venezuela's to do it all. South China Morning Post reports Iran seizes a foreign oil tanker suspected of smuggling fuel.
Yeah.
The news comes days after the US intercepted a tanker of Venezuela allegedly linked to Iran. Why are they saying allegedly? Is that pretty solid, or because the US says so? Because the ship was
an Iranian shadow fleet.
And shadow fleet makes it sound uber suspicious, but it just means that it hasn't officially been insured by a British City of London insurance company.
Because it's
anything outside of their cartel is shadow.
It's set up to evade attempt to evade sanctions.
Okay. Okay, so this counter seizure, it's not named. Fars News Agency didn't even. Maybe it's too early, but it was seized off Iran indeed. I imagine there's got to be some interest of the US's
Yeah.
For it to be a counter move.
Last month as well, the US seized a cargo ship going from China to Iran, but not with oil, but with military equipment or something like that.
Yeah.
So that happens quite regularly. We don't really hear about it very much.
Yeah.
This one you heard about because it's in the context of the Venezuelan
standoff. Yeah. And do they usually do it like that? I mean, that was like Black Hawks dropping troops abseiling down, and
it's probably done a bit more militaristically because they have the whole military contingent in the area and stuff, But usually it's either that or it's just boats boarding. It depends on the threat assessment. How difficult it is or how easy it is to get onto it, huh?
This one got a bit more fanfare because they wanted it to have a bit more flair.
Yeah, and they also have the forces in the region.
Right there, yeah.
So that's the easiest way, I suppose, since you've got all your ducks in a row there, May as well use them,
Yeah,
and it's officially part of that, even though it's not, officially part of that. It's unofficially part of the pressure campaign against Venezuela. So
PDP could be in trouble, though.
Who?
PDP, Hegseth.
Why?
He's on record as saying, after being told, maybe someone leaked it, sir, we got survivors from airstrikes against, or standoff strikes, I think they were fired from ships, against fishing boats. We got survivors, and his response, official command was, kill them all.
That was a couple of weeks ago, no?
Okay.
That came out.
But it's still a war crime, right?
Maybe. I think it was back to September, and it was only leaked last month in November, but it actually happened in September because there's been a number of those attacks on those boats. But the Democrats are. I mean, there's debate over whether or not he actually said it, or
that was going to be my question, was whether or not it was actually confirmed. The last I saw, it was being denied, and that there were questions of whether or not it actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's not solid. We should keep in mind that we saw earlier in the year someone out there has it out for Hegseth.
Yeah.
In a way, more than just because he's a Trump supporter. They really did try to frame him at the beginning of Trump's round of strikes against Houthi targets. Wasn't he set up? He was set up with there was a guy accidentally in a private chat, who happened to be a reporter for the Washington Post. Something like that. Anyway, they tried to frame Hegseth as being the leaker or something. Anyway, Trump was asked today to respond to a statement by the president of Colombia, who's rather unusually is a lefty. So he's very much a sort of in a Chavista frame of mind, El Diablo. That's it. Estados Unidos. El Diablo. And Trump said he better wise up or he will be next.
Mm-hmm.
So more fight and talk. So that's all it is so far. It's fight and talk. Still, though, it's a hell of a military build-up. It's expensive, but any takes on what's going to happen here? Regime change, a deal, an awesomest deal. Maduro and Trump could yet be partners, or is it war?
Is
it any clearer? Is it any, or is this? Are we all still going? No idea.
Well, he's probably gonna carry out some
strikes,
some pinpoint land-based kind of strikes or something like that, and he may at that point just call it call it done, and go home.
Maybe, yeah.
Like he usually does. At least that's his past form.
Maybe.
And he hasn't deviated from that because he's the anti-war president, right? So he's not going to actually do anything that risks a major outbreak of anything in particular.
Maybe just take out the choicest Russian/Chinese
maybe some
air defense stuff.
Maybe some air defense stuff, whatever. Or it depends what his agenda is.
Yeah,
you know. But he has to do something because he can't just walk away from it at this point. You know, has to do something that can justify him saying mission accomplished, kind of like Iran, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it wasn't accomplished. I mean, so. But yeah, he's taking his time.
Yeah. Most people they know what's about the oil. Most people not in like mainstream media understand that oil is involved here. John, I didn't listen to it all, but John Kiriakou was interviewed by Mario Nofal, the guy on X. Quote from him: "If you want to know why Venezuela." We don't buy their oil anymore. The drugs transiting Venezuela are Colombian, Ecuadorian, headed to Europe, not the United States. The Indians and the Chinese built new refineries to handle Venezuelan oil, and they ship the oil there. The Chinese in particular has decided instead of shipping the Venezuelan oil all the way to China, they'll just build a refinery there in the Caribbean and ship it out from there. And the US does not like that. That's not news to us, but that's interesting that it's a specific arrangement. It isn't that Venezuela's oil is open to the market and others can buy it and swap and trade and this type of oil for that. It's the infrastructure building the US doesn't like. It can barely tolerate China doing that kind of thing in Africa, but to do it so close to the United States is like, because you end up becoming a market influencer, especially locally. If you buy the oil and refine it there, you're encroaching on the keys to the kingdom, which are kind of like majority shareholder influence over setting the prices, the tempo of prices, the actual prices, and how they rise and fall. You know, we know that's like it's part of the wallpaper in American politics. It's so much part of, like, everyone knows that Joe Biden gave the game away. Although plenty of other politicians have said it in their memoirs before him, but he said it in real time, that he was pissed that the Saudis didn't do what he wanted in the run up to the midterms, because he was hoping for lower gasoline prices at the petrol pumps, just temporarily. Good for Dems. Okay, carry on, Saudi Arabia. It didn't happen in the last midterms. He was angry, and there were reports about the fact that he was angry. But that shows you that's the cum d'habitude that Americans are used to. So it's the ability of others to neutralize or even take from us the price setting influence, especially in energy markets.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. I think the major, that's downstream of the major issue, which is that it's our backyard.
Yeah,
and we don't want, and it's a major energy producer, and we don't want Chinese and Russian, economic and military infrastructures taking over Venezuela as officially the world's largest oil reserves and significant gas reserves as well, and other minerals. I mean, it's ours, basically. It's our sphere of influence, so it's ours. We have to, at the very least, control it, for lots of downstream reasons, but it's kind of the Monroe Doctrine, and they said it in the National Security Memorandum, or whatever the hell they call it, that we talked about last week. They actually described it as like basically Trump's version of the Monroe Doctrine.
Yeah.
Which is...
they actually said that. The Trump corollary to...
Right.
In black and white. That's kind of been alluded to these last 6-7 years of Trumpism. But to have it spelled out in the official national security strategy is new.
Yeah, although it's obvious.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have it and written down. And it kind of scared people, I suppose. Or made it. It's the writing on the wall, on the writing on the piece of paper. That's actually what they're serious about it. Enough to actually write it down. So yeah.
Sticking with tankers, which is a whole other different war, but I thought it was interesting that I noticed these two events happening close in time when I was checking the news this week. This isn't the first time as well, but there were a couple of high-profile strikes against oil tankers in the Black Sea this week. There have been a spate of them in the last year or more of the war. A little bit different though. This was an Indian. It was either Indian owned or was an Indian owned shipment. It was India bound, India purchased. One of a pair, I think, this week that were hit badly. Did they sink? I'm not sure. I know others have sunk in the last year in the Black Sea, and there's no hiding this. I mean, the Iranian incidents from several years ago we referred to earlier, they were hidden. No one posted the GoPro camera footage and said, yeah, that was us. It was totally like, well, I don't know what happened. It just sunk. Here, they've got cameras on the Ukrainian unmanned seaborne drones that are ramming these ships. I mean, those are high-tech drones. You've seen them before. Not only that, in the last 18 months, the Brits in their own newspapers have gloated that, yeah, they're our babies, and we give them to Ukraine by the dozen, or at least they're being manufactured there now, but we gave them the prototype for that. These are British camera equipped suicide drone attacks, and they're sinking not just Russian owned targets, but I think one of these two ships this week was Indian. I mean, that's bare naked. That's way beyond gunboat diplomacy. That's like, it's like, not only am I sinking your ship, I did it. Here's a signature, you know.
Who, the Ukraine? Yeah, but they've been doing that for a while, like, you know. The past couple, they've been doing that through the sea drones. The sea-based drones have been used to attack ships.
Russian military ships, but foreign third party flagged.
No, those are Russian, but again, those are America's or Russia's shadow fleet. That's why they're attacking them.
Okay, they're either Russian owned or
Russian shadow fleet.
Okay, so they're not Indian.
No, I think officially they were like Gambia or something, flagged, whatever. But flag was, I mean, none of that. The flagging of it, you can pretty much always discount the flagging of it, you know, unless it's officially recognized. But even very often when they're above board official ships or tankers or whatever, they often don't have. They never. Very often, usually don't have the actual flag, or they're not registered in the place that the goods on them belong to.
Okay, that makes more sense, because I thought the Yuki/MI6 had gone wild there and just escalated beyond. So it's targeting Russian shadow fleet oil tankers.
Yeah, why did you think they would have? You think they were hitting Indian ships for some reason?
Yeah.
Why?
Send India the old message. I don't know. Escalate the shit out of this. I mean, they've been threatening India in words a fair bit these past 6 months.
No, I don't think they'd go that far. They've got enough. They've got enough problems, and it's all, you know. A lot of that stuff, nearly all that stuff, is signed off by the Americans, and the Americans wouldn't necessarily. Americans are the Brits, and they probably wouldn't sign off on like Ukraine. You know, making an enemy of India.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's interesting. The BBC this must be an earlier hit because it's from 30th November. But this year, BBC's headline is Ukraine hits tankers in Black Sea in escalation against Russia. Mm-hmm. So what was novel about it? What was new-ish? Have they not actually hit and tried to sink? No, they have. I know there were a couple of them last year. I think maybe the difference is they're doing it now palms up. They're admitting it. They have the press release. Everyone knows it's Ukrainian. Maybe last year it was kind of like mystery drones. No one claimed it. Maybe that's the difference. I love the details. So the counteraction to this incident or this trend is Russian airstrikes at Ukrainian cargo ships at anchor in Odessa port. Did you see those?
That was a response.
I saw several footage of that. They seem to be at port. They're not at sea. And here their remit is broader. They're apparently just cargo ships, possibly grain carriers, because this is the whole issue with.
That's one of the ones the Ukrainians hit was carrying sunflower oil. I think it was actually a Russian flagship carrying sunflower oil. So it's just tit for tat. Like that's just Russians responding in kind, you know.
Right.
Saying if you want to keep attacking our official or unofficial cargo ships, then we'll respond in kind.
Yeah.
Which is what they did, basically.
Yeah. Although the headlines are Russian strikes hit Turkish-owned ships.
Right.
So are they trying to pull in a third party or is it actually a third party? Maybe the Turkish ships, who knows? The Turkish ships could be leased to export Ukrainian grain because they don't have enough ships. Yeah. Because Turkey was, of course, central to the grain deal.
Yeah.
That was been off again on again.
You know, it's complicated, you know, you have to, you can't look at it in that way where
this flag, that flag.
If it's got a flag, therefore that's the country and like the government owns that ship type thing, and this is an attack by whoever attacked that ship on the government. Like, you know, we're blowing up a ship. That's kind of like the flagging of them has no real bearing on. At least you can't read it from the flag who owns it. Like otherwise, it's like, because I think one of the ones the Ukrainians had was the Comoros.
I think Comoros, the islands. Yeah, but
so it's Comoros flag. So the Ukrainians want to escalate with Comorans, huh? They want to get their baobab trees and
the coconut.
Yeah, exactly. You know.
Yeah.
So you can't really look at it that way.
No.
It's kind of.
Yeah, but I just love how the press is sly and all the headlines reporting the counter-offensive by the Russians, which is clearly going to be trying to hit Ukrainian interests, obviously, be it billionaires or the actual government interests. Uniformly, Russia,
attacks
as if out of the blue, hit 3 Turkish-owned.
Yeah.
Isn't that terrible? Who does that to their allies? Like Erdogan met Putin this week. I don't think he looked surprised.
No, but Erdogan wanted to complain about, you know.
Did he?
Well, he complained about the general
lack of progress on a solution.
No, the general unfavorability or unpleasantness of a potentially escalating round of blowing up ships in the Black Sea.
Yeah.
Because obviously Turkey
shares the Black Sea.
Controls ships through the Bosphorus and all, has a major stake in that trade, and it just means it's a lot more risky for the Turks. But like, I mean, Russia has Turkish flagged ships, yes, because why? Because Ukraine contracted with a Turkish shipping company to deliver whatever from Ukraine to Turkey, or from Turkey to Ukraine, or from Ukraine, you know, somewhere else. You have to think about the whole way shipping works, you know, just at a basic level, you know what I mean? If I'm in Ukraine and I want to ship some stuff and I don't have my own ship, then I look to a closest country. Can't look to Russia. I pick one. Okay, Turkey's got a bunch of ships. I'm going to contract with a Turkish shipping company to come to Ukraine. I'm going to load it with a bunch of my stuff and I'm going to send it not necessarily to Turkey, but to anywhere else. Right, that's how it's kind of like renting, you know?
Yeah.
You know, so if I rent a car and it's from Hertz, you know?
Yeah.
and somebody blows up that car, are they attacking me or are they attacking Hertz?
But if you're in it, you're going to think it's personal.
I'm not in it. Yeah,
exactly. Another issue. This is 2-week-old news, but it's tied up with the whole thing. When the Ukis hit, on the face of it, they hit a key port on the Russian, not Ukrainian, like Crimea, Russia, but Russia. I forget the name. Begins with a K. But the specific oil terminal they hit at this port was owned by or has a major lease for the Caspian Consortium. So that's the Stan's interests plus Azerbaijan, and they want WTF Kiev because it was their interest. Yeah, you hit Russia, but dude, you hit our fucking terminal.
Well, that's the whole interconnected, globalized society that we live in. You can't just you can't isolate, and very often if it's outside of your borders and you hit something. I mean, in any other country, or if somebody hits something in your country, very often, depending on the country, but very often it's going to impact several other entities that have a stake in whatever infrastructure that was hit, you know?
Absolutely. I
never would have thought of that.
Thanks.
Global trade means that you have targets in your country that
somebody else owns.
Someone else owns?
Yeah, I know it's complex thinking, but whatever. I know it's deep. But yeah. Anyway, so what else? You got anything else on that? No?
Still in Ukraine, the Russians are happy they took Seversk. They claim they did.
Mm-hmm.
They seem pretty excited about that on the Russian side, because there's not much beyond that for defensive lines, at least at that point in the front line. We'll see, as usual, the response from Kiev and Kiev-aligned media is something like, well, pick one out of the hat. It was never that important.
Right.
But it is important. Each advance, I mean, they don't have endless lines of defenses all the way to Kiev. At some point, it's like, hello, Kiev. The Russians also got some schadenfreude this week by blitzing some blighters in Ukraine. Let's go to the BBC. How did they report it? I think they admitted that one member of the UK Armed Forces dies in accident in Ukraine. I love that. BBC here. A member of the UK Armed Forces has died in Ukraine while watching the testing of a new defensive capability. In their statement, he said he was injured. He's dead, dude. He was injured in a tragic accident while observing Ukrainian forces. And he was away from the front lines. Okay, but he was killed in an airstrike. He must have been close enough, like operating it for them. That's what the Russians have been saying since day one. Is it just one person? Well, I guess so. They go on to say the individual's family has been informed. And there were no other British casualties as a result of the incident. But it's the only way through which we know that this paratroopers of this regiment were even in Ukraine, because it did subsequently force an admission that, yes, they named him Lance Corporal George Hooley. Hooley, it's an Irish name, whatever. Of the Parachute Regiment, tragic accident, blah, blah, blah. The UK admitted that, quote, a small number of personnel were serving in a supportive role in Ukraine.
Yeah, I don't know why that's news, you know.
I know, it's so old.
I mean, maybe, I don't know. I mean, Lavrov came out and said, you know, now they can't deny that they're directly involved in the conflict and stuff. I'm like, haven't we been here there already? Does anybody not know that? Is there anybody who hasn't taken that as a given? Like,
apparently,
but I suppose there's official recognition of it or something like that. Or, but then why would the British government officially recognize it and stuff? I don't know. There's obviously some details that are missing, because obviously you could just cover that kind of thing up. Why would you actually admit
in this case
it at all? You know,
yeah.
Maybe because I don't know why. I have no idea. I just thought it was a bit strange because we know that they're all over the whole Ukraine conflict. They're basically behind it from the get-go, training and providing targeting data and satellite imagery and all that kind of stuff. And obviously all the weapons and on the different, whatever, Patriot missile systems and different missile systems, probably the what was it, a Scalp missile? Was it a Scalp or was it the British one?
Storm Shadow
that took down the Moskva ship a couple of years ago.
I think that was an American Neptune.
I think it was a Storm Shadow.
Okay.
Maybe, well, whatever. But anyway, the point being that it most likely would have needed to have been fired by Americans or Brits. Essentially, what's the difference? You know what I mean? So you set it all up.
Imagine not Ukrainian.
No, but like imagine you set up a missile, right? Nobody else, as a new missile, you bring it in from your country, you set it up in a foreign country that you're using as a proxy against your, fight a war against your geopolitical enemy, and you set up this fancy new missile system. You and all your team, from, say, America, for example, say you, specifically Adam, go there, right?
Yep.
And you set it all up, you and a bunch of other people set it all up, kind of target it, aim it at the target, all that kind of stuff. And then you go, okay, it's ready to go. Ukrainian boy, push that button.
Therefore, it wasn't us. No, exactly. It doesn't really make any sense to me why they would allow this to get pushed through when it's quite clear to literally everyone that, like, you name the thing, and like, yes, there's boots on the ground. Yes, there's officers on the ground. Yes, there's foreign military assets and et cetera, et cetera. Like, it's all there and it's all being used. And given how complicated all of these things are, and they even say when they announce like their deals, what was it? Was it France maybe who was talking about a deal for a fighter jet to Ukraine, and they were saying, it'll be like 5 or 10 years before they've actually got them delivered and trained them well enough to be able to use the damn things.
Right.
So obviously these things can't just be shipped over to Ukraine and then they be used immediately.
Right.
So obviously there are foreign military personnel there on the ground.
Right.
Getting blown up.
Yeah, of course. But apparently, it doesn't happen until we say it happened.
For some reason, it's very important to them that this not be commonly known.
Of course.
Well, yeah.
Not for some reason, for obvious reasons. Because they're fighting
the Brits, the Russians, they talk about it, but maybe they just don't have the propaganda ability to make it more widely known. Putin will talk about it now and then, but...
well, I think they've said it repeatedly over the past few years, like in one way or another from the Russian government, that this is the West. The West is fighting against us. Like, they've been pretty clear about that. That's been their whole shtick. You know what I mean? This is a proxy war by the West against and they've said repeatedly that it's all being funded. They can't fire any of the weapons, any of the new weapons. They all need Western personnel to be directly involved in using it. This is they've said that repeatedly, and then any time when the Russian government, I don't know if it has, but certainly Russian assets or whatever, Russian associated accounts on social media and all that kind of stuff, regularly post when they get them the passports of foreign mercenaries. I mean, what about
Telegram channel? Well, what about not on RT? You don't really get.
Well, what about Aidan Aslan and that other dude, two Brits? That was all over RT.
They were all over Brit media, but only because they had resigned commission. Formerly, they were there as volunteers.
Does anybody believe that?
The problem, the absolute red line in the information side of things for the West is under no conditions do we admit. And they've gone so far as to stage accidents in third countries, like that helicopter accident in Mexico. It was after the Sinaloa cartel. Mm-hmm. The deputy Russian ambassador to the UN more or less super strongly hinted that those 6 guys killed in that chopper were actually killed in Ukraine. Mm. And they either staged something for reals in Mexico, or they just simply put out a false press release. We're not talking about volunteers. We're talking about the volunteers. Sure, we hear about in the numbers, 1,000 and something Western volunteers. The RT write-up about this incident with the single British paratrooper just said en passant that to date 46 British nationals have died in Ukraine.
Probably a lot more.
And probably a lot more, and it's implied that they're all, apart from this guy, not active duty. They're volunteers. But some of the rumors going back, these rumors, surely the Russians have the receipts for them, like high level people hit. What do they know about Austin Lloyd? Why don't they use that? They could have used that, you know.
Well, they don't. Obviously, they've been careful. Western forces have all been careful to be in this kind of advisory and training role and all that kind of stuff. And they're generally well behind the front lines in Western Ukraine and all that kind of stuff. And when Russia has targeted them, got information that kind of gathering was going on, they've targeted them with missiles and they've killed a bunch of them, including a lot of Western, American, French, German, English instructors and active military personnel, but it's all behind the front line, so there's no Russians there to pick up any of the pieces or pick up any documentation or get any documentation.
Do you remember the rumor from Mariupol in year one? There were like 60 French trapped. Please come get us out. And each chopper that came to evac them was shot down until they were, I presume, taken out.
Yeah.
Whether or not they were volunteers or official, you know, mercenaries, but yeah, they wanted them out of there. Zelensky's got some tricks up his sleeves. I don't know if this is very smart or very retarded, but a stalling tactic he came up with this week was, okay, but we can't concede territory until we've had a referendum in Ukraine about doing so. That's cunning, because that's taking a leaf out of Putin's book, but in reverse, in the opposite. So no, we can't give any away. I have to consult the people first, you know. Vox populi, vox dei. So,
and there was also something similar about elections, but them not having elections until they can have election security guarantees. And again, is this another just like a stall tactic to say, you know, we'll do it, but we can only do it once things have calmed down enough? Or is it another stupid attempt to try and get Russia to stop for some extended period so they can
stop, stop. We want you to stop. And then, I think so. Stalling. Are we still on track for an end to this?
Well, Zelensky seems to be
maybe early next year.
Zelensky seems to be slowly coming around, you know, to the idea of some kind of a deal or whatever, you know, some kind of a peace deal. They're dragging their feet on it, obviously, and stuff stupid. And I mean, like, again, the fact that they, like you just mentioned, that they took Siversk, and you know, they're just, the Russians are going to continue to take more and more territory, and the Ukrainians don't seem to care. They're like, no, we're not doing any deal, and they're ignoring or refusing or rejecting that pretty obvious, pretty straightforward argument that, look, you make a deal now and you have a better chance of getting the best deal you can get, or if you wait, you're going to get a worse and worse deal as time goes on, because Russia's taking more and more troops. But they just go, meh, whatever, we don't care, which suggests that the whole thing has an ulterior motive, and has had from the beginning, or certainly after it started to look like it wasn't going to go the way that the NATO, the heads in NATO stand, anticipated, of some kind of a strategic defeat to Russia, once they realized that Russia wasn't going to be defeated and Ukraine was ultimately going to lose. They just said, well, we'll just keep dragging it out for as long as we can, because we're making money hand over fist here, and we're all in it. We're all you know, war's a racket. We're making money out of it. So that's why you reject any peace overtures, because at this point it's not about winning or losing. We know we're not going to win. We know Russia's ultimately going to get more or less what it wants. Like Putin keeps saying, the SMO objective of the SMO are going to be achieved one way or the other, however long it takes. And they know that's the case, and they know they're not going to.
And we had the revelations last week and the week before of all the corruption scandals going on in Ukraine. So it's quite obvious that all of the actual officials in Ukraine are making just as much money as everybody else. So who gives a who cares about those peons on the front line? I'm making $1 billion a day, sitting on my happy arse.
Right.
So drag it on. Let's keep it going. And then, like you said, also the cucks and NATO stan are in the same boat, doing the same things, and they get to crush their people at home with ever stupider policies and squeezing them with taxes and bullshit.
Yeah, and more war,
more war talk. So
more war talk. Root is now the second person to say, "Sorry, but your kids are going to war." In NATO's town, I don't like that messaging, but yes, it's extremely unlikely. They're going to get any traction with that. But still, we mentioned last week Germany's mandatory. It's such a half-assed thing. What is it? Merz declared a mandatory registration for all the 18-year-olds. Not mandatory conscription.
No.
But, they're itching to do something like that. But they don't have the mandate and they don't have the support. And they're all faking gay. In other wars that Trump solved, I don't know if you want to. Do you want to say any more on that? We can circle back. Ukraine is like perennially
faking gay.
The issue for NATO stand. Thailand and Cambodia are back at it this week. Didn't Trump solve that?
Yeah, same way.
He better threaten them with trade.
Same way he blew up. He destroyed Iran's nuclear program.
He didn't really.
With a truth social. With a truth.
Do you think he stopped a bunch of wars?
He's expressed.
Do you believe everything Trump says?
Yes.
He's stopped.
You do.
He's stopping a bunch of wars. No. Thailand, Cambodia. Ostensibly, it's over some temples in disputed border areas. So it's got a kind of religious flavor to it. But I think it's pretty obvious this is them being encouraged.
The Thai army said that there was no way that Cambodia got the drone infrastructure that it's been using along the border, that there's no way it's been doing it on its own, and that there were English-speaking foreigners involved. I wonder who that could be.
Yeah.
And that has to be put in the context of, America's pivot to Asia and to create problems in the Asia Pacific region for China.
Yeah.
So very likely Western hand involved there in order to stir things up a little bit. That's how you start stirring things up.
Yeah. Right on. I found
encourage someone to have a little conflict.
Bangkok Post, Thai army suspect foreigners operating Cambodian drones. Interesting. English heard in radio exchanges during latest border conflict. Suspicious. Border skirmishes. That's secret team 101. The other war that Trump didn't fix, of course he didn't. It's so long running. In the Congo, the M23 rebels have seized another key DRC city despite Trump peace deal. Oops.
Yeah, Cambodia is closely aligned or strategically important for China's One Belt One Road initiative. Thailand, long-term US ally, but Cambodia more aligned with China. So there you go.
And yet, the English-speaking high-tech drone assistance is coming through Cambodia. But then, when you have large standing armies, they can be like that whole area has a history, being the Golden Triangle. I read a part of that guy's book. I forget his name, but he wrote this massive book. It began as an article in the 70s, and then it became, by the 90s, this fat. It's so dense. But the reason you get lost in it is because there are so many breakaway factions. They have large standing armies in general, I think, those two countries, as a result of the Vietnam era, the Vietnam War era. And when heroin became the commodity in this Golden Triangle region shared by all three countries, it was just a piece of cake. You'd have a colonel here who'd have his own army, officially under the rubric of the Cambodian army, and then one over here, two over here, in fact, against each other. That's just two warlords, but officially they both come under the structure of the Thai army, Thailand, you know. So easy to they obviously that all settled down relatively, but it's so easy to bring it back online to I suppose like a volcano. It goes from dormant to active.
Yeah, the thing is, what you do is you G up the Thai government to attack Cambodia, and then you go to the Cambodian government and say, "Hey, you want some help? You want some help defending against those Thai attacks? We've got some drones to help you." And Cambodia's like, "Okay," and then they're on the hook for Western influence, right?
Yep. On the same theme and in the same region, we suspected it at the time. It's amazing though how many people were like, "No, this is organic. This is legit." The Nepal, revolution, Generation Z revolution.
Who actually thought that was
a lot of people? Yeah, even people who are like anti-empire tankies were going, "No, I think this one's the real deal." Guys, no, it isn't. Kit Clarenberg for the Grey Zone has a big piece this week on the National Endowment for Democracy and International Republican Institute funding of a Nepalese network of young political activists explicitly designed to, quote, I presume he's reading it from the IRA's own document, to become an important force to support U.S. interests. Because on the face of it, like, even just first glance, your blink should have been, hang on, Nepal is literally sandwiched between India and China. That's border skirmish 101. And that erupted, of course, about 6 weeks before the big makeup session of Modi going to Beijing for the SCO. The first time that he'd been to see Xi, met with Xi in like almost 10 years. So in a sense, it failed, but still, you keep the skirmishes and the regime change ops going. It kind of speaks as well to, here we are, bookending the year. The year began with, "Oh my God, it's over. Regime change is a thing of the past. Doge has blown it on. A USAID is shuttered. That's it. It's all over. Never going to happen again." And then like 4 months later, regime change. How did that happen? Well, because it's the many-headed hydra, right? You can cut off the snake here, but by the time the sword comes in to cut off the head of that snake, the funds are just somewhere else, easy peasy. So the NED is still active. USAID may not be, but the all-seeing CIA is in many places, working through many fronts. And the IRI probably was Ted Cruz's not Ted Cruz, the current Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, was on the board of the IRI before becoming Secretary of State. What about them? Do you want to say anything about the mass shooting today? I think it's today or yesterday in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Bondi Beach.
Where was the other one?
Anti-Semitic terror attack, they're calling it.
Surprise.
2 or 3 shooters. I think it's 2. I've seen there's tons of footage. Well, quite a bit, including one. There was one guy who just filmed the entire thing. I think pretty much the very first moments of the shooting till the point where they're both shot by cops on this pedestrian bridge overlooking a specific part of the promenade called Archer Park. And Archer Park was where a bunch of Jews were gathered for a Hanukkah event. Hanukkah is today, Sunday, but whatever it was.
Hanukkah.
Hanukkah. They're all smoking hookahs at the Hanukkah.
How do you say it?
Hanukkah.
I heard an Israeli guy on Aussie TV. He was going Hanukkah. I was like, okay, there's different. He was like, really, it was like CH.
Yeah, it was Hanukkah. The emphasis.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it does. It is, I think they're at 12 dead now. I was definitely targeting just this group. Although I think one person was shot near where they were standing. A woman in a car. But otherwise, when you look at the footage, if someone would try to approach the 2 shooters from their rear or from their left on the avenue there, the promenade, which is Campbell Parade, they would just shout somebody back at them and wave them away. Shoot.
Yep.
They had no interest in turning around and shooting just randomly. They really were targeting the Jewish party.
Surprised it hasn't happened before.
Targeted terrorism? Targeted terrorism?
No, I'm surprised that these are 2 Pakistani guys who are Muslim and affiliate, obviously ideologically supportive of other Muslims, and particularly, there's a lot of anger against Israel, what Israel's been doing over the past 2.5 years in Gaza, killing about 1 million people, mostly women and children. So the idea that someone else, other people wouldn't have other pro-Muslims or Muslims who are very annoyed about what the Israelis are doing and have been doing in Gaza, it's very surprising that there has been more of these kind of things targeting Jewish communities or Jewish groups in different parts of the world, probably because of the security they usually have around them and that kind of stuff, because they expect it, but yeah, it's surprising that there hasn't been more of it,
Some information is suggesting that they found pictures of one of the shooters from a 2022 Facebook post, and it shows some Salafist books. So, whereas some were speculating that it was Iran-related.
Of course, they're speculating that.
It being Salafist would not mesh with that.
No, Iran doesn't do terrorism.
Well, at least one of them is officially Pakistani, so the other's probably Pakistani as well.
Yeah, they have a driver's license.
They're 2 Pakistanis, so
but it's an Australian driver's license, so I guess they're living in Australia.
Well, yeah, they're Australians,
yeah,
Pakistani Australians.
You mean the surprise is not more of it because, well, let me put it this way: the fact that it happens suggests there has to be approval for it to happen. Otherwise, it would just happen a lot more often because people would be.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often.
Yeah. But Jews being shot up or Jews being targeted in general?
Well, usually if they're targeted, they'll be shot up. Same thing.
Yeah. Last month, someone went to stab people in Manchester, in England. He didn't get anywhere, but there's quite a lot of targeting of Jews, though. I mean, that is
no, but in this way, like,
right.
Like there was a shooting at Brown University as well.
Yeah,
which has a very high
yesterday.
Yeah.
Although that wasn't directly linked to
not
targeting Jews.
Not
right?
in the same way.
No, only a couple of people were killed, right?
Yeah. It's just the fact that Brown has a big like Jewish connection.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's it's a boon for the Israelis, obviously. But it's, the Israeli government doesn't give a shit, obviously, about Israelis. Like, they don't care about their hostages. Netanyahu, at least, doesn't care about their hostages. They've just used them to continue the war in Gaza, killing people. I don't know, but it's like there's 12 killed today, 12 innocent Jewish Australians killed today. So that's small compared to, as we assess, let's say, total death toll in Gaza is maybe up to 1 million people. So 12 versus 1 million.
Yeah.
Same. If you were just to, I mean, my point is that it's surprising that there hasn't been more of it.
Yeah.
If given that there are probably a lot of people out there who are kind of like devout Muslims, and a certain section of them would be very anti-Israel, and especially now after the past couple of years in Gaza, and they go and decide to visit some revenge on Jewish groups or Jewish communities in different parts of the world.
And like, especially with the whole war on terror, like fake terror plot bullshit. But the actual infiltration of Islamist groups with Western intel agent backing, it's kind of like you're saying, it's a surprise that it actually hasn't happened more. Where, I mean, it works out in the favor of the intel agencies and others for when these things happen, because then it gives them more funding. It gives them more.
It's more sympathy for Israel.
Yeah,
which this is obviously being used for, and the thing in Bondi Beach is being used massively already for, anti-Semitism is growing, evil Muslims, evil, protect the Jews, save the Jews. We're being persecuted again. I mean, of course, it's just, you have to look at it in that sense that it's blowback. It's a result of what the Israeli government has been doing in Gaza over the past 2 years, killing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Palestinians. So, it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, in a certain sense, where they start out the war on terror, the war on Muslim terror, which is actually for geopolitical reasons. So they want to invade different countries and get rid of different leaders in the Middle East to make it safe for Israel. So the US-Israeli deep state launched this war on terror, and they're going to invade countries, Muslim countries, particularly that have oil or that are geopolitically and strategic enough that they need to be removed in order to make the Middle East safe for Israel and, by extension, America. And in order to justify that to the population, so right, actually carry out, or you get agents, or you manipulate in some way or other, groom FBI terror plot type things, groom Muslims to go and start shooting up civilians and that kind of stuff, and attacking maybe even Jews and that kind of stuff. We're doing the right thing here by invading these countries because these people are actually crazy and want to kill Jews. But you do that for long enough, and public acceptance of your continued attacking and killing of Muslims in the Middle East. So you do that for long enough, and eventually the scenario where it's false flag terrorism, where you're actually using your own or manipulated or groomed Muslims to carry out false flag attacks, like I said, in order to justify your continued invasion of Muslim countries and killing Muslims. Eventually that gets to the point where you generate real, quote unquote, Muslim terrorists who do for real what you have been doing falsely, essentially, up until now.
It's the Hamas game where you create the thing that you need in order to justify doing the things that you want. And so, I mean, it's like, I didn't actually watch the bit where Tucker was in Qatar and was talking to the Qatari prime minister, and at least from the notes of the clip was saying that the Qatari prime minister was saying that we actually got involved in the Palestine thing at the request of the US. And so it's a like, it's not a ruse, but it's lying by omission. When people will say that, you know, Hamas is backed by Qatar and Qatari money and blah blah blah, and it's like, well, this is actually like a shell game. And when you go back far enough, it actually goes to the people who are saying, see, these people are terrorists. It's like, well, you actually created these terrorists. So I'm not saying that these guys are definitively connected to anything shadier than what it seems to be.
Well, if you initially start out calling Muslim terrorists, and then you provide evidence that Muslims are terrorists in order to invade their countries, and then through that invasion and the killing of those people, eventually you create the reality of what you posited falsely as being the case in order to justify your initial invasion, right? So you actually create the reality. So it's reality creation, you know. You know, and people create their own reality all the time in a certain sense, but I suppose it's the extent to which you're aware of how you're creating a reality, and that's why these people are the powers that be, because they are actually more aware of how to create their own reality, or create a reality. It just depends on what kind of reality you're actually creating, right? These people obviously are quite nefarious and quite evil, so the reality that they're conscious of being able to and are creating is not a very nice one. And it's this one, basically, where you have two guys who eventually go and shoot up a bunch of Jews at the Bondi Beach.
You're going with blowback. So an unintended consequence where it's organically happening.
Eventually it's going to do it, like I said.
But we should keep in mind that this could also be a put-up job in itself. It could be.
Yeah, it just...
Because the context of what's been happening in Australia the last year, have you heard of the caravan plot? So there was a wave of anti-Semitic terror attacks, or attacks, period, especially in Sydney, but maybe also in the second city, Melbourne, last year and this year. And it was a great scandal because it actually came out and forced the government to admit this has been the case. It blew up in their faces when they found a caravan, like a mobile home type thing, or an RV, loaded with explosives, and initially started saying, oh my God, we've got a terror plot in our hands, but then retracted when it was exposed that the bombs were not real. So it was meant to give the appearance of this. So it was investigated. Here's some websites, sydneycriminallawyers.com. Summarizing the state of play in Australia a couple of weeks ago, headline: the great anti-Semitism crime wave was not motivated by prejudice towards Jews. So if you scroll down to, can you do a word search, maybe for Pearl, Pearl, under the subheading here, a criminal con job. Including today's activities, Strike Force Pearl, I think the name of the investigating police force, has charged 29 individuals for a total of 127 charges, said the Deputy Police Commissioner David Hudson, where it was revealed that the so-called anti-Semitic crimes had been, quote, orchestrated by an organized crime element and conducted to further their own causes. So they have named names and faces, and I don't really understand the Aussie context in which this is happening. I'd have to dig deeper. They look like carnies. Their names suggest non-Australian. They're certainly not white. But in this ABC News report from March this year, how a hoax caravan terror plot exposed the alleged players in Sydney's anti-Semitic attacks. If you do a word search for suggested, police suggested soon after the caravan plot was made public that the couple involved, I think that's photos from there, did not appear to hold a specific ideology, and that there was a level of coordination above them. That's all I can find on it. That's where they leave it. So it's a kind of, they did a half admission that this is coming from spooky, shadowy places. Mm-hmm. And that's the end. That's the only thing they said. But this is the context in which, and there was, I think it did or didn't pass. Maybe an Australian commenter can help us. Running in the background of this was the proposed bill, a draconian new law where anything and everything was anti-Semitism, and you could, get a hard time in prison for a social media post that smacked of it. I think it failed when this emerged. The caravan plot was pretend a hoax. So that's in the background. So now Sydney, especially Bondi Beach, couldn't get more symbolic, has an absolutely unequivocal, in quotes, no one can deny it, bloody anti-Semitic attack. So who's hoaxing now? This is not a hoax. This is real. This is the real thing.
But that's the difference. It's not a hoax.
Well, those two guys, assuming they're just genuinely pissed at Israelis and Israeli-aligned people, have just fucking gifted the Israelis what they're looking for politically in Australia.
You don't expect them to be aware of that, though, do you?
If they're Australian nationals and it's been all over the news there. If they're two Australian Pakistani guys and it's been all over the news. And anyway, whether they intend it or not, this is not going to play. This is not going to help the political situation in terms of noticing, in terms of the Gaza war, in terms of what you can and can't say about,
Yeah, but like neither of them. That's not people. You can't expect people who would carry out, who would be so angry at what's happening in Gaza that they would go and want to, take vengeance on Jews, to stop and think, hang on a minute, if we do that, that'll just give the Israelis or the Jewish lobby or whatever more motivation or more ammo, basically, to make
Muslims bad and
to demonize Muslims, or to crack down, or to pass anti-Semitism laws. Those guys, someone like that who's going to do that isn't going to be thinking about that. In the same way that the Israelis who killed up to 1 million people in Gaza didn't seem to think, or at least care, that by killing up to 1 million people in Gaza, that they would create an anti-Israel backlash. Or if they did think about it,
they didn't care because they knew they would get away with it.
They went ahead anyway.
Yeah.
They'll get away with it, but they won't stop. They're going to create an anti-Israel backlash, which has happened. That didn't stop them. Surely they're smart enough to know that was going to happen. Right? Do you think the Israelis knew that by bombing the shit out of Gaza and killing all those Palestinians, that they would cause an anti-Israel backlash amongst at least a decent section of the population, particularly around the world, effectively? Do you think they thought about that?
There is I've heard. I'm not sure, but it's unlikely. It seems one step too conspiratorial in strategic thought.
Huh? But do you think that they considered that would be the
that there would be blowback?
That would be the effect.
Maybe. Maybe.
Do you think they're smart enough to have considered that let's go in and bomb the shit out of Gaza, and kill untold hundreds of thousands of Gazans. Do you think they thought, well, do you think somebody in the room before they did that said, this is going to cause a lot of anti-Israel sentiment? Do you think anybody thought that?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. But they went ahead and did it.
Yeah.
Right. So in the case of these guys, on a microcosm of on the other side, even if they thought about it themselves, the same would apply where it wouldn't stop them. They want to achieve what they want to achieve, which was wreak vengeance on some Jews.
And you can say it would be something similar for Hamas in Gaza, where they've been told that like this is just making things harder, but at the same time it's like it doesn't matter what we do. We've tried the peaceful thing and it went nowhere.
No,
and
you've done it twice now. You're comparing that to Hamas. That's totally different. These guys live in Bondi Beach, Australia. They're not living in Gaza.
No, but
Hamas has reactions that are like, we're in a prison camp here. They've got drones in the sky since, I've been reading about it, it's crazy, since 1990, continuously. Israelis invented these drones. They can just kill whoever, whenever. That's not the same as being in Australia and going, the pressure's too much, I'm going to do something about this. And it speaks to what you were saying, though. Why doesn't this happen more often? So the fact that it does happen,
it's probably not easy to do. Well, it's strange that it hasn't happened so often, and maybe it points to the fact that it's very hard to get people to actually go out and decide to go and kill a bunch of otherwise innocent people, although they don't frame them as innocent. Obviously, they would see them as legitimate targets in revenge. But his analogy of Hamas is the same in the sense that what he's saying, he's not saying that these guys were as put upon as Hamas or had as much motivation as Hamas, but obviously they had enough motivation. If they just decided to do it themselves, they had enough motivation. You can't speak to what those two guys felt.
No, I don't know
about having witnessed what went on in Gaza and how they worked themselves up to the point that they said, we got to do something about this because these
and die in the process.
Right, yeah, of course.
Or one of them's dead.
Well, I mean, of course they have the ideas that they'll survive and all that kind of stuff, but Hamas was in a similar position where it's like,
you're damned if you do and damned if you don't, so you might as well do it. And
there's no consideration for, other.
Did you see them reload? Have you seen the video of them reloading?
Yeah.
One of them's 24. I don't think they just taught themselves that.
Taught themselves that?
Yeah, they've been in contact with some circles. No. It's Australia where guns are heavily controlled since the 1996 mass shooting in Tasmania.
Yeah, well,
it's worse than Europe.
They're Pakistani, so maybe they've spent they go back to home to Pakistan a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
So they may be
soak up the ideology there, the hatred
for sure. Yeah. No, I'm not saying.
Me neither. I would just keep it open though.
No, but it's not black and white either. You know what I mean? It's you can't have, well, in some extreme cases you can have, I suppose, a patsy who's entirely mind programmed, like someone like Sirhan. But I think in most of these cases, you have
they're personally motivated.
The way the intel agencies operate is that they identify people who have that kind of intention or have those thoughts or known to be thinking in that way, that they're very anti-Israel, anti-Jew, whatever, and then they can be helped along. So it's not an either or thing, you know what I mean? It can be a combination of both, but the percentage of how the percentages break down is very difficult to identify. I mean, two guys like that can be in Pakistan and can be going to training camps and be completely oblivious to the fact that they're being groomed or handled in a very indirect way, and that it can all be seen as maybe some group within Pakistan that is very anti-Israel and all this kind of stuff. But you can go from one end of the spectrum of a Sirhan to the other end of the spectrum where it's almost entirely the work of the two individuals that carried it out, but they're facilitated in the sense that the authorities and the intel agencies in the country where they're going to carry out the attack have been tracking them and know all this kind of stuff and could have stopped them.
That's what I mean. It's the point where something is not intercepted.
It turns into a let it happen on purpose operation.
Yeah. Otherwise, we might hear it. This might have happened a lot more. Like those Jews felt comfortable enough to do that.
Yeah.
Presumably with no security,
right?
Armed security when they did so.
Yeah.
But it's Bondi Beach, a super public place.
Yeah. So of course, everybody is using this, as you see it all over Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, where this is like the main response to this, at least on my X, which just seems to be alt-right, verging on
Heil Hitler,
neo-Nazi for some reason. I'm not sure how that happened, but everybody is saying, although it's more and more traditional conservative as well, it's no longer necessarily extreme alt-right, except in leftist circles. In conservative circles, it's just straight up conservatism, i.e. anti-immigration. So this is being used by all these people on X to say, you see, this is what happens when you let immigrants into your country. They go and shoot up people. And it's like, well, that's not really, I mean, that's such a midwit kind of take, you know what I mean? And is it real? Either the person who has that take is either stupid or they're being disingenuous, because obviously this is happening. If you just take it at face value, it's happening in the context of Israel having spent the past 2 years killing upwards of 1 million Palestinians, i.e. Muslims. And then you have 2 Muslims in Australia who go and kill 12 Jews. Is that an immigration thing? I don't think so. It's more about, you just killed my people and I'm going to kill your people. Immigration really doesn't have anything to do with it. Except in the sense that keep all the Muslims out of Australia, and therefore this won't happen again, and you just have a bunch of white, ethnically British and Irish and Scottish, mostly Australians, all who absolutely and unequivocally support everything that Israel does in the Middle East in terms of killing the towelheads. So I
don't know if it happened at the same time, but
you can usher into that brave new world. You know, we get rid of all the immigrants out of Australia to stop this kind of thing happening, and then from here on, we support Israel and whatever it does. That's what the anti-immigration people want.
Yeah.
Supposedly. But of course, behind all of those people who are saying it, preaching it in terms of immigration, this is what happens in immigration, pull off the mask, Scooby-Doo, in Scooby-Doo fashion, and you'll find Benjamin Netanyahu's head behind all of them. So they've all been mind-programmed to be uber pro-Israel. Or they're just uber pro-Israel. They haven't been mind-programmed.
I don't know about Australia, but in the US at the moment, there's a conversation taking place on the right about Israel.
Mm.
And how would this feed into that? How would it not feed into that? Suggests it was done deliberately, just on the face of it. What that's going to lend support to those saying, leave Israel alone.
Of course, yeah. It's going to provide support for Israel. But I don't know if that same question about Israel is happening. There have been big marches in Australia. I don't know.
Migration,
no, pro-Palestinian marches.
Okay.
In Australia. So there's a big element within Australia that is pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel. So
I don't know if
the question it's pretty well divided. I don't think it has infected, if you can use that word, right-wing Australian politics. The Israel question, I don't think they have got there yet. Where the conservative elements or the conservative side in Australian politics and Australian society are, I don't think that the point where they can actually go, hang on a minute, do we have an Israel lobby problem in our country? And maybe something like that, but maybe that is happening. I haven't looked into it enough. I know there's a big, pro-Palestinian sentiment within Australia, and that's the way it has been for quite a long time. So you basically have lefty pro-Palestinian. I think Australians would generally tend to be liberals to a large extent, traditionally, and I think the pro-Palestinian element in Australian society has been there for quite a long time, the same way it has been in Europe amongst the European left. And on the other side, then you've had the conservative side who just have been, not say very much, but just be quietly pro-Israel, I suppose, pro-West, all that kind of stuff. They're not anti-colonial, but they tend to keep their heads down. but I don't see any evidence of there being a significant element of questioning of Israel amongst the Australian conservative factions, as you see in the USA.
Yeah. There was a guy arrested.
They haven't got there yet.
Just before, riding a horse down Bondi Beach, waving the Palestinian flag. The video of the cops stopping him, saying, "What you doing, mate?" I think it was happening at the same time. I think he also. Not suggesting he was part of the shooters, but again, the Palestinian flag was in proximity to this incident, so the issue is like hard to separate. I think he was riding up and down the part of the park, Archer Park, where the Jews were congregated, waving the flag in their face. As rage bait. Then he was stopped, and I think shortly after that, the shooting started. The police response, I don't know. It looked like a shit show to me. I mean, you've seen footage of the guy who wrestled the gun out of one of their hands. He was shot in the arm in the process. He was a local.
People make a big deal that
Edward Crabtree.
Well, there's a big push that initially that he was a
Muslim.
He was a Muslim.
Yeah, that was fake news.
Well, I think it's kind of confused news because the actual video, and both of them appear to have been shot. But there's a guy who actually tackled the shooter, which is that little short video was doing the rounds a lot.
Do you see the policewoman in that?
Yeah,
she's crouched behind a car.
Couple of police crouched behind the car. Yeah,
this is why DI policing. The woman's hiding, bless her, because she's gonna stay there, and a civilian.
Yeah,
takes a chance because he's a big guy.
Yeah, well, he takes a chance. But so that was Eric Crabtree. But then there's another guy. If you just play this one, and I mean, yeah, it's good that he grabbed the gun from the guy, but the thing to do here, Scotty, is to press play and then pause it at the start, and then use the little scroller, the little round ball there, and just drag it to the right, kind of progressively, and we'll tell you to stop. So go ahead, yeah. So there's the shooter at the tree. Here comes Eric Crabtree. He runs over, grabs him, kind of wrestles the gun out, and the guy falls over. There's another woman there, I think, comes in. He kind of points the gun at him, and the guy gets up and moves on. Just kind of stops her for a minute, but and if you just, so that's Eric Crabtree. So he puts the gun down here against the tree. So, and the problem is that guy that he just took the gun off goes back up onto the bridge with his friend.
And there's a third one.
Another gun.
And the other guy has a couple of guns. We see this guy coming in. He throws something at him. I think he's the Muslim guy. He has a baseball cap on him. He throws something at him.
He gets shot.
An older guy. And then if you go back, keep going. So that's the other guy up on the bridge. He's continuing to shoot. He's, gesticulating at people to go away, but now at this point he's shooting at the cops because the cops are actually shooting back at him here. But it pans back round here in a minute to back to where that second guy had come in with a baseball cap and threw a rock at that retreating guy. Yeah, if you keep on going a little bit. So that's you can just play it there actually. So the two guys are there behind the tree. The guy with the baseball cap is the guy who threw the thingy. So he just got shot in the hand, and that's why he takes up and leave. And then there's another shot. You don't hear it, but he gets shot in the leg. And that's cop down there behind the car. So there's the other guy back up on the bridge now, and he picks up. That's the first guy, but the other guy's there. You can see him peeking up. The other guy picks up the other gun then, and the both of them then continue to shoot, mainly at the cops though at this point.
Yeah.
So basically, the guy Eric Crabtree, he maybe got shot after this. There's a longer video, 10-minute video that shows the whole thing, whatever, but it doesn't show any more shooting in the direction of the guy who took the gun off him. At least doesn't show him being shot or whatever. But it's the second guy who comes in after the Eric Crabtree has disarmed the guy, there's another guy who runs in with a baseball cap, and I think he's the Muslim guy, and he gets shot in the hand and then in the leg as he's walking away. So just there, but then it may be that Eric Crabtree also got shot in the later. There's another 5 or 6 minutes of this video where the guys are shooting in the direction of the cops down leftwards, down towards where the cops are. So there's a bit of a confusion. Anyway, so it's not very clear exactly who's who in that, you know. But like I said, they're using a lot of people are using try and push back against the anti-Muslim sentiment that obviously is being amplified, no doubt, by Hezbollah and Israeli trolls on the internet to try and big up Israel's agenda of demonizing Muslims. I think that I've had enough of that by now, you know. But there's people pushing back against that by highlighting the fact that the guy who disarmed one of the shooters there, if only temporarily, who disarmed him, was a Muslim, but he wasn't a Muslim. But I think the other guy who ran in there and threw something at him, he may have been a Muslim. He may have been the Muslim that they're talking about. I can't remember his name. But anyway. So other than that...
Yeah. In completely unrelated news, or is it? The Jewish Chronicle reports high likelihood Hamas will attack Europe in the next 6 months.
Of course.
Key targets in Europe include Israeli diplomatic missions and religious sites related to the Jewish state. Does that cover what we just saw in Australia, related to the Jewish state? And it's Hamas. And remember, for Israelis, Hamas is Palestinians. It's a whole people. So...
Well, they're not wrong in that. Hamas is the Palestinian people. For the most part. The real Hamas.
Yeah. Well, they've been saying that for ages now. Laura Loomer's been posting about that for at least a year.
That what?
Hamas is pouring over the Mexican border and any day now.
Yeah, she's been warning about an Islamist attack on America for, God, yeah, maybe it has been over a year.
Yeah.
She won't shut up.
So was it the same time, roughly, today, early morning our time, two dead at Brown University? What do we know here? Oh, shooter still at large, or has that been updated?
Last I saw, it hasn't been updated. From what I remember, a couple of hours after it started, it may have been Brown University who said that the shooter was in custody, and then Trump truthed it, and then they said, actually, we don't have the shooter in custody. He's still at large, and Trump untruthed his truth.
Untruthed his truth?
Yeah.
He said we
untweeted.
He untruthed
his truth.
His truth tweet. His truth post.
Yeah.
Well, this guy looked more prepared. There's CCTV footage, and he's wearing a bulletproof vest and balaclava. So he does not want to be seen, unlike these two guys in Australia who didn't care that you saw exactly who they were.
Right. Yes.
It's strange here. I just saw someone on X saying that there are searches in Tel Aviv for one of the shooters in Australia.
Already?
Oh, yeah.
Before.
Oh, there were searches online?
I have a question mark on that.
Yesterday.
That's a bit dodgy. People are doing that all the time these days, and I'm not sure...
I don't know what
that's actually the case. That's going to be like the
means things, but
it's going to be the busted wide open yardstick of you know of how Israel was behind everything.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
it's like when a meteorite slams into the earth. Somebody's going to post screenshot of Google searches from Israel for meteorite the day before. Somebody in Israel was searching for meteorite hitting Earth.
I'm just noticing.
You're over noticing. There's such a thing as over noticing, maybe.
Is there?
Is there really?
It's a question.
Anyway, the Dems are still making a mockery of the Epstein files. There was another dump this week, the past few days. Pictures.
70 photos. Did you look at them?
Pictures of
this one.
This one here, the only one that really matters in a certain sense, obviously the Democrats in particular, is like, oh my God. And they actually, redacted the pictures, that redacted the faces. They blocked out the faces of those girls for nefarious purposes, obviously, because it makes it look like, well, who could these women be? But then you see the garlands around their neck and stuff, So it's obviously trying to frame Trump as being hanging out with maybe underage girls, who knows? But then the New York Post just actually, and it was, if they did it first, but it's actually a the photo has been around for about 20 years or whatever. I think it was a Hawaiian Tropic event that Trump was at, and they're all obviously overage. These are Hawaiian Tropic models, the Hawaiian Tropic, the sunscreen or sun cream or whatever. Yeah. Hawaiian Tropic models. So I think it's probably about 20 years old, that picture, and has been around for a long time.
Breaking news: Trump hangs out with models.
Yeah, as if we didn't know that he does that. And apparently there's quotes from them and all that kind of stuff. He was a gentleman, because it was at Mar-a-Lago, right? So it's kind of weird where they actually released that as part of the Epstein files, a 20-year-old photo that was in the public domain, and they decided to redact all the faces, even though the picture's been around in the public domain unredacted for a long time, because it's a totally innocuous picture. One of many similar pictures of Trump with
Did none
with
of
models.
them think to search for that picture?
They can't use the internet, the Democrats. They can't meme and they can't use the internet. So yeah. So Trump was photographed with pageant contests. They're actually Miss Universe pageant contests, and it was like something to do with a Hawaiian Tropic photo shoot or something like that. I think it was 10, maybe it's more than 10 years old anyway. So there you go. That's all.
Here's another one they published this week. The House Oversight Committee included this in the Dropbox.
Yeah, Trumpkin makeup. Trumpkin, yeah.
So apparently that's a photo from
Epstein's house.
Epstein's island, maybe?
Probably, yeah.
The other ones are like selfies of Epstein, multiple shots of his bathrooms, I think on Pedo Island. Some Epstein himself in a bath. Oh, Jesus, who wants to see that? You only see his head, though. Some works being done on the terracing outside at the beach. But then there's some interesting figures. I mean, Woody Allen again. Well, we know he was close with, but what's his name? Richard Branson, British billionaire. Him hanging out again. Not the first time we've seen him on Epstein Island. A very chummy one of Epstein with Steve Bannon. No, it's even stranger than that. It's Steve Bannon with Noam Chomsky having a chuckle, presumably at his house in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Bannon has some explaining to do. But for me, the most, I suppose because he's already been outed, they included it. But still, it's the most egregious. All of these other people, even Trump, because at the time he was just Trump, the famous guy on TV. The most damning one has got to be the last one they included, which is a picture of Ehud Barak on his mobile phone at Epstein's house. Probably the one in New York. Like, I'm impressed they included that, because we assumed the whole sanitization process was going to be especially focused on not including anything Israel in these files or documents or photos, but they've published another one of Barak. Time unknown, but we know they go way back. Barak is some character, I tell you. He's He personally led when he was young. He was in Sayeret Maktal, the targeted assassinations unit of the Israeli army. Worked his way up from carrying them out in Lebanon and places like that to planning them. This guy's entire MO is how to kill as many people as possible. I suppose as many people as we don't like as possible. Targeted assassinations, right? But he's literally, his entire life, his career is built on killing people. He's one sadistic SOB.
A lot of them in Israel.
Yeah.
Not the only one by far.
In completely unrelated news, Tyler Robinson appeared in court and confessed. Case solved. We can go home. You can put your conspiracy tinfoil hat away now.
Well, they've had October, November. They've had 3 months. 3 months to work him over.
This is absolute horseshit.
Does he know where he is?
Yeah.
It's horseshit what I'm saying.
Does he know what year it is?
Yeah.
Does he know his own name?
Yeah.
He's appeared in court. This is going to be going on for ages. This isn't even the prelim hearing is set for May next year, so this isn't even that. But the New York Post hired a lip reader, and I'm going to watch all 2 minutes of this, but they basically imagined what they want him to say, him gloating about doing it. I think that's it between the lines. That's what they're running with anyway. And there's no way. I mean, I'm half deaf, so I can do a little bit of that myself, but no, I don't get that from the conversation. Certainly not from the response. There is 2 defense lawyers, the 2 women, and their responses, you sometimes see them, the back moving like a chuckle. So something obviously innocent enough has been said. He hasn't just said, and then I knew his wife would see it too. And then they really chuckled with him.
Like, oh, yes, of course.
Go ahead and play it. Just see if the first. We're only looking at subtitles here because there's silence. There's no audio with this, of course. But based on what they say is his lip movements. I think about the shooting daily. Every morning, all the time, he tells his lawyer. So he had a wife. Just smoking a lot, not sleeping at night is driving me mental. Like, that's not what he just said from his demeanor.
That's what you get from those bad lip reading videos.
Yes, I did it, see?
This is exactly what I would expect.
You'll never get me to confess, though.
From those bad lip reading videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
And my mom said that I could go to school on Sunday.
Like, this one's hilarious. It's 3 lines of sentence, but the lips move for like 2.5 seconds. You didn't say all that.
I need to run by you whether it's okay for me to say I killed somebody.
Can you beg? I'd like you to.
And she nods.
This is insane.
That's not what he said. The New York Post actually claimed they should be sued. But who's going to do it? His family?
It's complete nonsense. That's what happens.
It's bullshit. But that's the last, in theory, that's the last we'll see of him till May.
Yeah, well, 3 months is long enough for people to be worked on, you know.
But that has generated a round of headlines saying, he confessed. And it would be nice to say nobody really believes that. But like I mentioned at the top of the show, Megyn Kelly, Matt Walsh, Tim Pool,
Fuentes,
do believe it. So yeah, among others,
those are
among all the rest of the normies, of course.
None of those are serious people.
But
anybody who would just go and say, would come out and categorically state that they're sure or they believe. I've looked at the evidence, and Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. You're not a serious person. I'm sorry. you're just not a serious person, and it's hard to know whether or not you're actually just doing it on, pretending that that's the case for some ulterior motive, because it'll keep the Israelis off your back or something like that, and it'll keep you getting your shekels. Or whether, if you actually believe it, well, then you shouldn't be on social media. You should be cut off from social media, because you basically have nothing to say, because that's a litmus test. If you actually believe,
if you have no questions,
story, if you have no questions,
you have no questions whatsoever about a single bit of it,
then you're absolutely stupid, obviously. Because like 90% of the American population, and I think the other 10% are actually, clinically retarded or whatever, but 90% of the American population have questions or seriously doubt the official story about the assassination of JFK. And that's all stripes from Americans. So it's really low bar right here. It's a low bar to at least allow for the possibility, given the historical evidence of state-sponsored assassinations of significant US political or social or whatever figures, to question whether or not Charlie Kirk could have been one more of those assassinated he was a political figure. If you discount that totally, well, then you're a very, very stupid person, and so you should be ignored. If you discount it and you're not a stupid person, well, then it means you're a disingenuous person, and you should also be dismissed.
Maybe you know what side your bread is buttered.
You're stupid or a liar.
Like Erica
I have
Kirk.
to sum it up. You're stupid or a liar, and nobody should listen to stupid people or liars.
Yeah.
It's not even open for debate at this point. You know what I mean? Anybody who, what does Tim Pool even talk about? What is Tim Pool? Why is he on the internet?
Why does he?
What has he ever talked about?
Winning the midterms.
Is that what he talks about?
He's now decided he's right wing.
Historically, what has he talked about? What has he made his name on? I don't listen to him because I maybe heard him say one thing or two things on a 5-second segment of his video, and I was like, what's he talking? I don't know. I just went delete. I don't know what he's talking about. He's not saying anything of any interest whatsoever, and so I don't know. But I don't get the impression
Adam's hip on the podcast.
I don't get the impression that he's into conspiracy theories. I don't think he's a big conspiracy theory guy. So what does he actually talk about then?
At least when I listened to him back in
the day,
like 10 years ago or so, he was one of the people who was talking about illegal immigration. He was one of the people talking about woke is ridiculous.
Right. So he kind of made his name on that.
Yeah. But his take on all of it was very midwit. And it didn't take me very long to realize I could nail his point of view on any topic.
Yeah.
Immediately, without even having to
listen to him.
Yeah.
To listen to him, without even having to know the full story of the context of an event. I was able to okay, I'm pretty sure he's going to say these things. Watch it, and he says those things. Okay, never mind.
I don't think I've ever actually listened to him in substance. But I like some of his guests. So I mean, he's had Matt Gaetz on talking about how everyone in Congress has an AIPAC guy, that kind of thing. I'm like, yeah, interesting. And then he goes to Tim Pool, and he does something to water it down.
Yeah,
or
every time
relativize it, and you're like, okay, dude, mute, close. He's just trying to his rant about Candace Owens is like he's trying to insert himself into a hot topic debate and help to split. I'm joking when I say there's actually two dividing lines. And which side are you on, Candace or Erica? Because I'm being this. I'm not serious. That is the impression they want to give you. They want to keep it nice and neat like that. And Tim Pool weighed in like he did to help create that false, divide. Because in the meantime, of course, Matt Walsh has been on Tucker's show, and they've tried to just agree to disagree on what they disagree on and keep it civil otherwise. Likewise, Megyn Kelly. So it's not really like a MAGA civil war, but you have idiots like midwits who are trying to keep it that way or shape it along those lines. Again, I don't think it's conscious on his part. It's just He's so uninteresting. Let's stop talking about him. The beanie is one thing, but his profile pic at the top of his X page is just a photo of him. So a pro taken photo. Have you ever looked at it?
Not until I saw your...
He's just like, it's just dead. There's no effect. There's no expression. Yeah. Dead eyes. There's nothing there. I'm like...
He looks like a cartoon character.
He looks like a cartoon. Yeah. It's not a real person.
He wore his beanie to Mar-a-Lago. Right. Dressed in a suit. It's like...
He was on the COVID thing, wasn't he? He was pretty...
Yeah.
Pretty clued in on the COVID stuff, but that's about it, right?
Maybe. I'm actually, now that I think about it, I don't know.
I think he was.
Yeah, he was in early about free speech. Commenters, Pittsburgh dude says Tim Pool became famous on Joe Rogan talking about free speech online. So yeah, 10 years ago. So the culture war is important to him, and he that racket can't change. If the paradigm shifts and actually now the focus is on other things, he just loses what's left of his composure, because no, the current grift is good. Let's keep the culture war. Just simple, hard right, hard left. What's good for the midterms? We must keep the team together for the midterms. Dude, that left-right thing is like, that's 10 years ago now. It's over, dude. It's finito. What else was there? Oh, yeah. I want to mention it in case we don't discuss it in any depth. Another $1 trillion, 3,000-page NDAA passed, as it has every year for the last 24 years since 9/11.
The which?
The
NDAA?
Yeah.
National Defense Authorization?
Yeah, massive.
Money for the military.
Money for the military.
900 billion.
800, but 800 mil?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound too bad.
800 million?
For Ukraine.
Oh, no, 500 million for Ukraine.
No, it was 800.
Was it?
Yeah.
And then something like 5 for Israel.
It was...
So that's supplementary to what they've already been getting.
It may have been broken down into different things where... Because I remember seeing something about a $400 million figure and then another similar figure, both of them for Ukraine, and then another 600 million or so for Israel.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's getting money but me.
Yeah, it's such a pork thing. It's so pork laden that the Euros were surprised by it and like, awesome, because it completely contradicted the gist of what Trump was saying last week. Trump and Vance and Musk and the standoff with the Brits over... God, I've already forgotten. What were they shouting about last week? Oh, free speech and the European Commission fining X. And now they're like, oh, this is pretty cool. This is opposite to what it appeared. It includes things that are in a sense, non-financial. A minimum limit threshold below which the president cannot... This still has to pass in Senate, mind you, but they stuck a clause in there that Trump cannot draw down below 76,000 US troops in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's an example of like putting the limiters there on changing anything in the status quo. Like, you know, the ultimate of which would be the US leaves NATO or leaves Europe to its fate against Russia, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just another great example of how it's business as usual. We'll see. He still has to pass Senate. Tim Burchett he's a good congressman to follow in this.
Oh, that was great.
I love his little 30-second videos. He's walking down the steps whenever one of these omnibus bills passes, and he's just drawling there in his Tennessee accent. He says, "Well, they did it again. I tried. They released the dadgum thing. They released the dadgum thing on Sunday night. Nobody read it. It's 3,000 pages, and they passed it."
So yeah, 900 billion, 800 million in aid to Ukraine over the next 2 years. So 400 million
Yeah,
then,
a year. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
400 million a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's not that much, I suppose, given what it needs. But yeah, I think they're all just positioning themselves for the final denouement. They probably have thought about it long before now, in terms of Russia, some peace deal being accepted finally by the Ukrainians. I'd say the main thing that they're negotiating over, the Ukrainians, I think it's pretty much a done deal at this point, but the main thing the Ukrainian Zelensky and co are negotiating over is their own safety, their own retirement package, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, okay, look.
Number one, am I not over. In jail? And
exactly.
Do I get to keep my billions?
Exactly. It's like we need to work this out at this point, and it's going to take a while, and they have to haggle over that and that kind of stuff. How it all happens. So I would say the whole thing's actually, a decision has been made at this point to effectively to end it. But it's just the details are being worked out, and they're all getting their ducks in a row so they can all escape to Israel.
Yeah,
or Miami or somewhere.
Zelensky fleeing to Israel would be the ideal conclusion to this warped story. He could flee to the US, I suppose. Nah, Israel would be safer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, other than that,
are we doing a show next week?
21st? Why? What are you going to do on the 21st?
Get ready for Christmas.
What do you mean, get ready for Christmas?
I have to get the iron my stockings
for Santa.
Hang them up. Okay, so we'll be here next week.
21.
We're doing an end of year review.
Depends. You don't know what's going to happen between now and next week. You know what I mean?
There could be some big event.
Yeah, you won't be able to avoid it.
The EU Commission used emergency language to get around the dissenting votes to freeze the Russian assets so they could no longer do anything to or from Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And also now forcing countries to...
They're indefinite. They used wording to can indefinitely keep the 200 billion or so of Russian money, basically in Brussels, in Belgium, instead of talking about using it to finance a war and all that kind of stuff. They said it can't be given back because Russia's kind of suing them and all this kind of stuff. But it's actually, I think it's opened a door for Russia to actually sue them, because Russia took a legal case against the kind of clearinghouse that controls the money type thing, or that would allow the money to be transferred back or kept, because the Europeans came out and said that they're holding it because their own. They basically made it. They basically said that it was in terms of the European economy, like financial security, basically, like in the financial interests of the European Union, we can't give that money back, i.e., because we don't have enough of our own, so we have to keep it. It would be a financial threat to the stability of the European Union to give it back, which was strange. You know what I mean? It's almost like they dropped the clause of using it
for Ukraine,
and instead.
They needed to survive. You see why I think Ukraine's fate is tied with the EU's.
Yeah.
But they're in this hole so deep, man. I mean, that money, the reason the country has foreign reserves, the reason it accumulates it is for precisely such a scenario. This is supposed to be Russia's in the event of currency manipulation, attacking their markets, rebalancing. We've got a problem. But the EU is saying, no, we actually can't get back. We need to stay afloat ourselves.
Yeah, They just changed the terminology, but that was always the point of it. They'd given so much money to Ukraine, they were going to use that money to rebuild Ukraine, let's say, but that would be in lieu of using their own money to rebuild Ukraine. So it's basically investment for the European Union in European Union countries in rebuilding Ukraine, which is not for Ukraine's benefit, but for European benefits, obviously, because you buy up assets, you buy up Ukrainian resources, and that then boosts your own economy. It's basically they've always seen it, regardless of the way they framed it. They've always seen it as their money that they're going to use to
get rich.
Yeah, almost as compensation for the money that they've put into Ukraine, into funding the Ukrainian war against Russia. It's like, this is our insurance, basically, because we've invested so much. And you'd think the Ukrainians would actually be the ones who owe the European Union that money that the European Union has given to Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's like, well, we would never get it from Russia, obviously, because the truth is that we waged the war against Russia via Ukraine, so we can't exactly ask. It's like when I start a war with someone else and then I get defeated, then I try and sue the country that I started a war against for my costs in the war. Like, yeah, it's not going to happen. In other news, last piece of news here: government withholding data that may link COVID jab to excess deaths. This is really interesting. So those people applied for. Somebody tried to get access to information about COVID vaccine correlated with excess deaths, and the UK Health Security Agency refused to release the information. So people just wanted that data, just the data. Don't want names, all that kind of stuff. Just the data. You can kind of redact a lot of it so that it doesn't injure anybody. We just want the raw data of people who got the shots and then what happened to them afterwards. And they said no. And then so somebody said why, and the UK government effectively said because releasing the figures would lead to distress of the bereaved relatives if a connection were discovered. So it's that thing that we rolled out that killed your family members. Yeah, we can't actually tell you whether or not it actually killed your family member, because if it turns out it did, you'd be unhappy.
Aww.
And we don't want to cause any more distress than we already have by releasing.
Thoughtful.
Aren't they very thoughtful?
So thoughtful.
Yeah.
Is that an admission?
They said it would risk damaging the well-being and mental health of bereaved and of the families and friends of the people who died. And they also said that it would have an adverse effect on the vaccine uptake.
It would have.
It would. So that thing we give you that may have actually killed you or your family. Well, we give your family member and your family member died. That medical treatment that killed them. We can't actually let you know whether or not it killed them, because if it turns out it did, then it's probably less likely that you'll take it.
And we really want you to die.
And we kind of want you to die.
Sorry.
I mean, well, no, that's not what I mean.
No, we want to protect you from dying by killing you.
We want you to die, but we're worried we might distress you about it. So
yeah,
we won't. Yeah, that is crazy. That is probably the closest yet to an admission that they knew, or they've since learned, to give them some leeway, that the jabs were extremely bad in total.
Yeah.
And they cause excess mortality. They cause more people to die than they save.
Yeah. So, you have to, there's something very sinister, but I mean, it's not sinister like that explanation. It's bizarre. It's like when you have
Weasley.
It's not just Weasley. It's ridiculous. Weasley. It's like literally what we just said.
Yeah.
Like Weasley or any other word doesn't get it. It's very hard to put it into words to describe what that actually is and the thinking behind it. I give you something that killed you. The government gave you something that killed your family member. And I'm not going to tell you categorically that it killed your family member, because you might not take it then. And they think that flies, because obviously the answer is, well, why the fuck would you think I would take something that killed my family member? Because, well, maybe you're stupid enough.
That's what they're banking on.
It's like...
Most people won't read the Telegraph, but there we did due diligence. Now, here's BBC with sports.
Yeah.
I mean... yeah.
And in fact, the data was actually shared with pharmaceutical groups, but not with the public. And it was shared on an anonymized basis with the pharmaceutical groups, i.e. Pfizer, the people who made the vaccine.
Yeah.
But they won't give it publicly.
Trusted to keep omerta.
So they know that their shots are not as effective.
Depends what depends what the outcome.
Depending on how you define effective.
Depends what the goal was.
Or it was quite effective.
Yeah, it depends.
Well, okay,
it's a grey area.
It's Schrodinger's jab.
Yeah,
it's effective and not effective.
Yeah, depends how you look at it. And there's another study that showed the benefits of, in the same vein of, did something like 200,000 people for treatments for COVID.
Germany. Japan.
I can't remember what it was exactly, but this is a table from it. Ivermectin benefit against COVID was 60%. There were 106 studies, 220,000 patients. Cost is $1 per treatment.
$1 per life saved.
Cost is $1. Cost per life saved was $26.
Ah, okay.
And then hydroxychloroquine was 28%. If treated early, it was 66%. Lots of studies, 424 studies, 590,000 patients, same price, $1 per cost, $1, 26 per life saved. And then the pharmaceutical treatments, Paxlovid, had 13% benefit, had only 84 studies, 170,000 patients, and the cost was 1.9 million per life saved, or 1,400 per dose. Right, it sold Paxlovid costs that $1,400.
You can't put a price on life.
Molnupiravir was a 9% benefit, so basically nothing. Studies 51, 180,000 people, $700, 2.4 million per life saved. And remdesivir actually had a negative effect. It didn't actually help. It didn't actually help at all for COVID and had negative side effects. So it got a -2. 82 studies, 200,000 patients, $3,100. They charge you $3,100 for something that does not help at all against COVID and actually has side effects.
So that right there at the very end is a little bit wrong or a bit misleading then, because it says the overall benefit is -2%.
Yeah.
So you can't have a net positive cost per life saved because it didn't actually help to save lives.
Yeah.
So does that mean it actually cost them an extra 1.6 million to per person killed? I mean, what does that actually mean?
It didn't kill anybody. Remdesivir didn't kill anybody. It just didn't do anything for COVID whatsoever. But yes.
But since it actually
was meant to help against COVID, and if it didn't help against COVID and somebody died from COVID, then the cost per life saved doesn't make any sense because it didn't save any lives. It's only theoretical.
Yeah.
That's the cost per life saved is in terms of research and all the kind of stuff of developing the actual drug, right? But obviously didn't save any lives. Anyway, so that's the kind of shit that we have to deal with. So
$26 treatment. It's horse dewormer.
Yep.
It's toxic. It's terrible. It's bad for you.
It's terrible horse paste.
But this bullshit that it's actually going to make your life worse off, your risk of death more worse off. We're going to need to charge you 1.6 mil so you can be worse off.
Yeah, something like that.
Didn't he used to be an AIDS drug? Is remdesivir Fauci AIDS?
Maybe
repurposed
a version of it, yeah. Anyway, so there you go. That's the state of the union of
I do want to throw one last thing out there, just really quick. I saw that there was a top DEA official and a veteran CIA asset who were busted in a $12 million scheme to launder cash and procure drones for Mexico's Jalisco cartel. So I'm just wanting to let Trump know that he probably should look in his own backyard and not across the Gulf of America if he's looking to stop.
Yeah, it's the narrative, though. You know what I mean? It's ultimately about keeping the Russians and the Iranians and the Chinese out, and he has to have some narrative. It's weird. Like, I've always thought it's very weird that they don't just come clean and that kind of stuff, and use that as a narrative instead of because it would be so much more compelling. Just tell the American people, look, America's lived hand the hog for the past 80 years type thing. We have the highest standard of living in the world and all that kind of stuff. And the reason we have that is because of our global empire or our position as the world superpower, basically. But that's now under threat because other powers, peer competitors have risen up, particularly Russia and China, and we're no longer able to sustain that. So we're going to have to retool things a lot. We're going to have to change things up. We can't sustain that empire anymore, but we're going to have to try and sustain their standard of living. And if we're going to do that, we're going to need the resources, or we're going to at least control our backyard and the resources in our backyard. And that includes Venezuela, first and foremost, because of its oil reserves. So we need to basically bring Venezuela to heel. Are you all with me? And everybody be like, yeah. Because,
and then I
would say, cars and a white picket fence and, whatever.
And then I would say, you keep telling me that I'm living this great and wonderful life, but really it's just you. It's just you assholes and your ivory towers, your Trump towers. You're the ones who are actually benefiting from this shit, not us. So you can take that explanation with your other bullshit explanation. Shove it all up your backside.
It's not a bullshit explanation because
yes, it is.
No, because if Russia and China and Iran or whoever else get into Latin America and take over, well then American standard of living is going down the toilet, and none of you are going to be happy when that happens.
I think he's saying they're already unhappy.
Yes,
you're going to be even more unhappy. You're going to be the unhappiest.
I'm going to be the most.
You're going to be super
unhappiest.
You're going to be morest unhappiest. So look, that's the reality. It'd be far better if he just told. If all leaders around the world the people who do it most clearly are the Russians. Chinese don't say anything but they say it through their actions. But the Russians are the only ones who actually are a bit more honest about it. But the West has been doing it, like that whole subterfuge, bullshit narrative, war on terror, blah blah blah, for so long, and it's just like, just tell the fucking truth, dude. Drop it to the people. But then I know in the West, it probably wouldn't fly, especially the means that they use to go about it. It wouldn't fly with a lot of people. But I think Trump is in the best position to be able to, right now he's the kind of guy who could actually say that, and he would mean it, just level with people. He's a populist, right? It's participatory democracy, right? It's grassroots populism, So tell them, level with the people. Tell them what's going on. Stop the bullshit. Stop fentanyl, Maduro's a narco-trafficante, blah, blah. It's all nonsense. Like, people can see through it, 'cause especially when you yourself say, well, they've got a lot of oil as well. So which is it, narco-trafficante or oil? Come on. When you're going to fucking stuff your big fat, size 14 shoe in your mouth repeatedly, just be honest. You can't trust yourself to actually keep the narrative going. So just cut all the narrative out and just tell people what's going on. And they'll be happy to go with it, It's like, look, we got to do it. It's do or die. All you Americans are super fat, and I know you just aren't inclined to go on a diet. So if you want to keep shoving those,
lay off me. I'm starving, Joe.
If you still want
literally starving.
Look, if you want your goy slap, we got to invade Venezuela. All right.
We need
Maduro has to go. You want goy slap? Maduro has to go. It's pretty simple. Who's with me? Yay! USA! USA! More guy slap. Yeah. What's the difference between a poorly dressed man and a unicycle? No, not that one. What's it?
It was beyond the pale, wasn't it? It was too much for Joe.
What's the difference between Iron Man and Aluminum Man?
Weight.
No. Iron Man stops the bad guy. Aluminum man foils their plans.
Oof.
It's a fantastic joke. Anyway, yeah. So that's where we're at. And somebody, Alejo, had a problem with your pronunciation of Jalisco, right? How did you say it?
I don't remember. I probably said
Jalisco.
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 Jalisco. Jeez. You need to
How do we say it, Joe?
Jalisco.
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 How do we say
How do you
Hanukkah.
say it?
Hanukkah.
Hanukkah.
Have you never heard Hanukkah before?
I never heard anyone say it, no.
Jesus.
I read about it all the time.
You never had a Jewish friend?
You never watch them, like all the politicians
I did,
for
actually,
like
but
forever.
not for Hanukkah.
All the American
Hanukkah.
All the American politicians forever around this time of year, all going Happy Hanukkah.
I just tuned it out or something because I didn't sound. That's not my culture. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't.
Probably. Anyway, we'll leave it there this week, folks. We hope you enjoyed the show. We will be back next week, despite Neil's protestations,
with a Christmas special.
I'm going to
have mince pies and
Neil's going to be
hot toddy.
Some.
It's the only way I'm coming. They're my terms.
Some Judeo.
Them's my terms.
You're going to be eating some Judeo-Christian mince pies. And
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
You'll be Shabbat Shalom and everywhere else, and you'll be eating some Israeli hummus. Israeli Christmas hummus. And Adam will be repeating Christ is King. So,
Jalisco.
And saying, and he'll learn to pronounce Jalisco.
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 No, like Hanukkah. Jalisco.
Jalisco.
Shut up. All right. Yeah, it's just, he can't do it. His genetics won't allow him. Yeah, so we'll be back next week with another show. So until then, have a good week, people. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Can't stop the signal now.